Okay, I was bragging about Gino. Yeah, everybody knows Gino back here, the world's best CPA. And I say this very, very firmly. Our numbers are perfect. I cannot tell you how my old butthole used to pucker back in the old days. You know, we had the bingo thing going on until Gino and Jay and the current people came on board. We had just grown too big, too quick, and beyond our 99% party capability. Gino Johnson over there does a brilliant job of making sure our numbers are perfect, and not only with all the Indiana state agencies, IRS, the whole bit, and keeps me honest. And hell, when you do that to a lawyer, that's a damn good thing, Gino. So anyhow, you need to go up if you don't know Gino and say hey and thank him for the wonderful job he does, because he makes this organization perfect when it comes to our numbers, and no one really questions us. That's such a wonderful thing that we have. Have I talked enough about waivers?
Yeah, I think so.
Does everybody understand waivers? And if we don't have them, we could be dead. You follow me? If we don't have them. So, yes.
How long do we need to hold on to that?
Well, you've asked another damn good question. The statute of limitations in Indiana for negligence, that would cover probably 99% of our issues, is 2 years, except for small kids under the age of majority. And then they have 2 years from the age that they reach majority. So, if we have an incident, we'll know if we have an incident, if we've got a young person involved, but I would say that those ought to be kept a minimum of 3 years from the incident, okay? Just in case we have something that sneaks up on us that we didn't know about, or some bullshit that they claim. I mean, it is not unknown for people a year and a half later to go, hey, remember when I got shocked there and, you know, I had all these bills, and etc., or I had an altercation that should have been supervised. You never know about that. So I'd say a minimum of 3 years, and then we can do something about it at that point in time. I know that's a storage pain in the ass thing to look at, but those are important. But an excellent question. I don't know that we've got a definitive policy on that in the handbook, do we, Jay? Yeah, that's probably something that we ought to address. I'd say knee-jerk reaction, 3 years. And then if we have an incident, hell, we save that person's signature to the end of time. You with me? In other words, if there's been an incident but no claim, you know, 99% of the time, hell, I hear about it almost immediately. You know, we've had episodes, for example, well, we'll kind of skip over that one. I probably don't want to get into that, but I get these reports pretty much immediately. They are sent to me. I put them in my safe at the office, okay? Or they're in the same or similar circumstance at the ABATE state office. So that's our golden ticket out of problems. So those should be honored, secured, guarded with your life, if you will, and we'll be fine. Yes?
Why don't we all use the booking form instead of just that little standard form?
Well, you've asked another excellent question. It's a big seesaw with reference to the time and difficulty of getting waivers. And probably you're going to see me nudge everybody to try to use a comprehensive waiver as opposed to the short form. And that's one of the things that I need to be working on. And so we will give you an incomplete answer right now, but I think probably what's going to happen in today's environment, the full form is probably going to be the one that has to be used. Yes?
What about adding the county rep on as an additional insured onto their insurance when they have an event?
Well, you've asked another question kind of related to the question we had before, and that is, by definition, as a volunteer, you're immune. So you wouldn't, at least personally, you could be sued in your capacity as an officer or a representative, but not personally. Okay, that's a very important distinction. So that means you are being sued as ABATE, okay, in that instance. And if ABATE has a responsibility, ABATE will pay for that, or has to pay for that issue. But that's where the waivers come in. Yes? You've asked another hard question. I just did another deal. The worst thing in the world we can do is invite our friends to have an event only to get them sued, right? Okay? A tough question. Here's the key thing to that. Most homeowner premises insurance policies have coverage for volunteer events. It gets complicated for volunteer events. Whoops, I got a no here.
I called 3 of them, but they don't have nothing to do with it. One, dealing with Farm Bureau,
State Farm and volunteer work.
Okay, maybe some have send me that exclusion. I need to take a look at that. Oh, did you? Is this the Farm Bureau? Those are my buddies that yeah.
State Farm is the same way.
Okay. On the U.S. or the ISO Form 1, unless they modified it, you have coverage, like say for example, you have a church event at your home, okay? Or you have the Cub Scout meeting at your home. Or you have, you know, some kind of a PTA meeting. I'm sorry? Thank you, okay, for the school. You have coverage in those instances. Now, to the extent that you're getting turned down, yeah, I'd like to kind of talk a little more about that, because that's very important to all of us, and it does underscore an issue, and that is when you have folks that are volunteering their premises, somebody needs to make sure that we've got coverage, and in that instance, their name ought to be put on our waiver, okay, as an additional waived entity, okay. We may or may not have insurance for that. We probably will have insurance, and we can probably get them listed as an additional named insured as you've set out, but their name also ought to be on that waiver, okay. And that'll help, because if there is an episode or an incident, and if it's an ABATE member that gets hurt, we have another defense in that basically that person would be suing himself, you know, because he's a member of ABATE. There's an old defense along those lines. So there's several things that come along to make that exposure relatively nominal. But those are very good questions. Probably ought to address that in an article. That would be a key thing. Out in the hall, that's all I get. Hell, I'm just a damn lawyer, you know what I mean? It costs rent for a room, you know. Yes.
What about waivers and non-sanctioned event?
Well,
you said an ABATE event because
yes.
It's not sanctioned.
Well, any event can have a waiver. In other words, it is okay in Indiana that as a condition to coming in this place and having a good time with us, that if you fall down, hurt yourself, and here's all the exposure elements, and you're supposed to have an identification of the shit that can happen to you, if you will. And once you've done that, and they sign off on it, you're good. I need to clean up my language there now. Yeah. Well, you know,
We're nearing the end of our time.
Oh, okay.